Hello YouTube, this is Omniditto here, and I am coming at you with a profile of my wind-up deck. You guys have asked for it, and now you're getting it. So yeah, I decided that I was going to do a dueling network version of this. I had recorded about 3 or 4 different versions of with the real cards, because I have all of them, and it ended up not working out super well, because I don't have a cameraman or anything, or a good camera, or a stand. I mean, I have my phone and I have my webcam, and that was about it, and it didn't turn out too well, and I didn't want to upload crap for you guys, but it did lead me to the question: do you guys like to see deck videos with real cards, or deck profiles rather, with real cards, or with Dueling Network? Some people like Dueling Network as far as I know, and I personally like real cards, but that might just be me, and hell, I might not even like them as much, just not like the ones on Dueling Network that I've seen. But we're going to get into this deck profile anyways, try and make this a little shorter. Probably not going to be able to, but whatever. Alright, to start off, we have Gores. Gores is a good card. It stops OTKs. You know, it's almost a staple. And you know, you'd think that running 3 continuous traps and then 7 regular, or 3 continuous spells and then 7 traps, you know, that's 10 cards that get in Gores' way. It honestly doesn't come up too often. Like, rarely will an opponent leave a factory going, because they feel like they have to get rid of that because they don't want to get looped. Then we move on to Tour Bus and the 3 Tour Guides. I was playing Sangan. I played Tour Bus before Robbie Cole. A lot of this is like, because I should have done this earlier, because I did a lot of tech that some people don't use, or that didn't use, and then Robbie Cole and decsilentenigma actually uploaded one today, and, you know, I feel like I should get, you know, credit for it, or at least not feel that, have people not feel that I took this and am using this idea as my own. But anyways, Tour Bus, because you can loop, I believe, 4 cards with Tour Guide and Factory. I think that's what the case is. I am not sure, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what the case is. You can loop 4 by opening up 2-card combo. Then we move on to the wind-up monsters. 2 wind-up hunters, because they bottomless your first hunter, you're screwed. Because this deck does... That's actually something I'd like to say. It's a common misconception that all the wind-up deck does is loop people. It does a hell of a lot more than just loop people, and my wind-up deck is kind of proof of that. Because I'm not running the turbo loop build, I'm not even running instant fusion. That's actually partially because I didn't have room in my extra deck, but we'll get to that. So, anyways, they bottomless your 1 hunter. You have 1 more left, and it's super searchable. So it's not that big of a deal if they bottomless it. Not only that, but like I was saying, this deck does more than just loop, but one of the biggest things it does do is the loop, so that's why I run 2 Hunter. Next, my favorite tech card. People are going to be like, oh, this is stupid, you know, you don't know what you're doing, you're running a juggler. No, okay, see this effect? After damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy the opponent's monster. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. People read this effect can only be used while this card is face up on the field, and assume, oh, that means that it has to not be sent to the graveyard. No, even if this card is destroyed, you can still use its effect, because I believe it takes place in the 3rd sub-step of the battle, of the damage step, or of an attack or something, and the monsters are destroyed during the 5th or the 6th. So therefore, you can use this even if it gets destroyed. And another thing, it's basically a worse version of Snowman Eater, and you're wondering, oh, why would he run this over Snowman Eater if it's a worse version of it and he's admitting it? See that right there? Wind-up juggler. That's why. Because it's searchable. Say they have an Acid Golem and all I have is Rabbit and Factory, or, you know, any wind-up monster that's effect can activate and Factory. Okay, because Acid Golem is super hard for this deck to get over, because it doesn't get over large monsters very well. Search for Juggler next turn, attack, take 1300 damage. Yeah, it's 1300 damage, so what? But the Acid Golem is gone. I mean, how many people have you heard talk about life point advantage? This game's not about life points anymore, and I'm going to write an article about that. It is more about field and hand advantage, and that's why Juggler is such a good card. Alright, then we move on to my second tech card, Wind Up Kitten. People are like, wow, and I thought you didn't know what you're talking about when you were running Juggler. No, Kitten is an amazing card. The other card that this deck has a lot of problems with is Zen Mains, because there's not much it has that can get over it. Sure, Wind Up Soldier can get over it if I use it correctly. I have a bunch of Xyz monsters that can get over it, and I even have cards in my side deck that can get over it. But the thing is, then it destroys a card during the end phase. If I make an Xyz monster and it doesn't and it still has all its materials on there, then I basically just wasted, whatever, 2-3 cards, and the Zenmain still isn't gone. Kitten, however, say again, I have a Rabbit and a Factory, and that's why I like playing these in 3. Okay? Rabbit and Factory, normal summon the Rabbit, or whatever, activate its effect, get Search with Factory if they have a Zenmains, get the Kitten, next turn, or even if I haven't used my normal summon the Kitten, Zenmains is gone. It targets one monster your opponent controls, returns that target to the hand. If I'm playing dragons and they charge with the Light Brigade, get a Raikou, and I know it's a Raikou set, search for Kitten, get rid of the Raikou, it doesn't get its effect, and I can attack for some damage that turn, and, leave myself with, possibly a Tiras so I can't get destroyed by Raikou's effect next turn. Kitten is a searchable compulsory evacuation device. You'll see I'm not playing compulsory in there, I'm not playing compulsory in there. Yeah, sure, it's like playing one compulse, but it's playing one searchable compulse, and that's why I like it so much. Then we got 2 wind-up magicians. I don't like to play 3, that's player preference. 2 is a good enough number because people are like, the school of thought is run 3 wind-up magician, 3 shark, 3 factory. You can loop, I think, 4 cards with that first turn, maybe 3. Doesn't matter, okay? Because I like to think of decks a lot of times about when you're top decking, okay? Tour Guide, amazing top deck. Rat, late game, amazing top deck. Hunter, not so much. Rabbit, decent top deck. Factory, no, that's why you sided out. But still, Magician, when you top deck that, you frown. Because it's 1800 defense, that's not that much. Okay, but in 2, it is still very good. Alright, next we play 3 Rabbit. This is one of the things I was talking about earlier. As far as, the misconception that the only thing the wind-up deck does is loop. There's also another kind of deck that the wind-ups can play, and that's Rabbit Control. You kind of saw that with, Wilson saying it, YCS, Long Beach, where he played wind-up beasts with 1 wind-up card, but he sided into the loop. And, he played some Rabbit Control, but basically what it is, you open up, and this actually happens a surprising amount of times, when you have nothing else you can do really, you open up Rabbit and Factory, alright? Activate Factory, normal summon Rabbit, first turn, nothing. They go, summon a monster, try to attack you. You banish your Rabbit, search for another Rabbit. Yeah, you take some life point damage, but like I said before, the game isn't really about life points anymore, it's about hand advantage, and you go 2 cards to get 1 card. So basically you turn 2 cards and 3 cards, and you just basically paid, like, say it was an 1800 attack monster, you paid 1800 life points to search for a wind-up Rabbit, which frankly is a pretty good thing, because then you can get a rank 3 Xyz, you can, if you can get rid of the monster with something else, you can attack for 2800, or you can activate another effect, the other one's effect, banish itself, get another Rabbit, and then you can attack for 40, I think it's 42, 28, 30, 3,000, 4,200 damage in 1 turn if you can clear the field. And that's why Rabbit Control is a lot of fun, and it's a pretty good card in 3. It's player preference, sure, because you can definitely play without 3. You could play with 2, you could play with 1, you could play with 0. But I like playing with 3. Then we have Wind Up Rat. It's the monster Reborn of the deck. I don't see many Wind Up decks, and as a matter of fact, I don't know if I've seen any Wind Up deck that doesn't run this in 3. It's just too good not to run in 3. It's a monster Reborn. It's a wind-up. It's a factory search. It is so good. It can be a 1-card rank 3. Oh, even like a 1-card rank 3. Not necessarily, but plus late game, this card is amazing because they'll have used up their Veilers, they'll have used up their warnings, and it's a free rank 3 Xyz at that point because you most likely have a level 3 in the graveyard, or a Shark, which is what I'll get onto next. My 3 wind-up Sharks. This is another. Again, I don't see, and I don't know if I have seen, any wind-up deck that plays without 3 of these, because you open up Magician and Shark, and especially if you open up Magician, Shark, Factory, you're golden, I think, for 4 cards looping out of their hand, which is awesome, because the loop is the main thing this deck does, really, because it's such an advantageous thing to do, and Shark also makes rank 3s, rank 4s, and rank 5s, which, why wouldn't you make a rank 5? Tiras. Where's Tiras? Tiras is amazing. Adrius gets you out of situations. And Zenmayo, when they think they're going to get you with their Raikou, use Zenmayo. That kind of rhymed. Then, my other tech card that I used before Robbie Cole and decsilentenigma, Wind Up Soldier. The reason I use it is because it gets rid of Thunder King. Yeah, it's not searchable while Thunder King's on the field because Thunder King stops Factory, but that's okay because if you know your opponent's using T-King, search out Soldier, keep it in your hand to get rid of it. And it goes up to 2200, it hits over Thunder King, that's one of the best parts, and then it also makes rank 5 Xyz, which is invaluable because rank 5 can be, like, absolutely amazing. And then if you summon this first turn with a Shark, you can make a rank 5 first turn, and that's just really cool. Next we have One Of's Book of Moon, obviously to get over big monsters and to stop attacks. Dark Hole, because it's Dark Hole, you play that. My other interesting tech choice, Forbidden Lance and 2 MSTs. I'll get to the 2 MSTs in a second, but Forbidden Lance stops Bottomless from getting my Xyz monsters, Hunter and Juggler, and Shark and Gores. Oh, actually not Gores, because, well, I don't know if you can Bottomless Gores. I think you can, but either way. It stops Bottomless Trap Hole, it stops Mirror Force, it stops a lot of things, and it's very advantageous to have Forbidden Lance and 2 MSTs instead of 3 MSTs because this card can be used offensively and defensively. You have Heavy Storm to get rid of their spells and traps, obviously. Doesn't usually get in the way of Factory, weirdly enough. Mind Control, because Mind Control in this deck is really good. You take control of any level 3, 4, or 5 monsters, and you could pretty much almost always Xyz with it and keep their monster, or you take control of their rank 5 or rank 6 and make this guy right here. Alright, moving on, Monster Reborn, because it's Monster Reborn, you pretty much play that in every deck, because it's just too advantageous of a card not to. Then we have Mystical Space Typhoon. I play 2 because, like, what am I going to stop with Mystical Space Typhoon? Skill Drain? Yeah, but not a lot of decks can play Skill Drain, and then when I find a deck that can play Skill Drain, and if I lose, or even if I do win against Skill Drain decks somehow, side in Mystical Space Typhoon, because the third's not really necessary in this deck. I mean, it's player preference, but I don't feel it's very necessary to play 3 in many decks, much less this deck. Then we have Pot of Avarice. This card is amazing with the loop, because you can cycle through the loop. It's not so much about drawing cards as it is recycling your Zenmaities, because then you can loop them a second time. If you've used all 3 of them, Pot of Avarice, get the 3 back, draw 2, and you can even continue to loop, which is just awesome. 3 Factory, I've already explained this, it's a search card, and the other thing that I like about this card is the fact that whenever I make decks, I make these ridiculous combos. Sorry, I just need to check what time we're going on. Okay, 12:37, I can probably hurry this up a little. And the thing is, you go through with Wind Up Factory, and it's like, I make these combos that are so convoluted, and it's like, when I'm siding out, it's like, I can't get rid of this card, I can't get rid of this card because it needs this card needs this, and the siding is just ridiculous. But with this card, it creates combos, and it does just as well with creating combos as it does in 2 and 1. I don't draw it as much, but provided I don't necessarily need to draw it every game, game 2 and game 3, and that's why I run it in 3 for game 1, and usually end up siding out 1 or 2 for game 2 and 3. Then these are self-explanatory. Deprison stops attacks, stops effects and attacks. Usually it stops attacks more so. Stops Red Eyes Darkness Metal from getting back Light Pulsar, things of that nature. Mirror Force, because it's Mirror Force. The Solemn Brigade, because you play that in just about every deck, and it's just too good not to. Torrential, 1 Torrential, because that card is freaking hilarious with Rabbit first turn. Summon Rabbit, especially if you have, Rabbit Factory and Torrential. Activate Factory, summon Rabbit, set Torrential. They summon anything, banish Rabbit, chain Torrential. Hilarious. Alright? And, also, I'm not sure, I just thought of this, but I think if you do Rabbit's effect and then Torrential when they summon a Light Pulsar, it misses the timing. Not sure. Leave a comment if that's true, because I know when you MST your Torrential and then chain Torrential when they summon a Light Pulsar, that makes it miss the timing, because the last thing that happened was that the card was destroyed. But I think that might make it miss its timing. I don't know. Alright, anyways, moving on to the extra deck. Aegis, because it's a rank 5, and sometimes they have big monsters and you can make a rank 5 and you just want to detach to get rid of those big monsters. Otherwise you go Tyrus, and if they have a bunch of set stuffs in Mayo, but we'll get on to that. Gaia Dragon, I feel, this is player preference, but I feel that if you play Mind Control, you should play this because it gets rid of their rank 5 and rank 6 Xyz. It's the same school of thought as when people play Utopia. Sure, not everyone can play rank 5s and rank 6s, but Inzectors can play them, other windups can play them, and even dragons play photon strike bounds or sometimes. You mind control that, Gaia Dragon, that's an amazing thing. Then My Stroke, because it's pretty much a free Book of Moon, and it's a good card, and I like it. I might take it out for something else, I don't know. Probably not, but it's just a good card if, the situation arises. Otherwise, I make Utopia. Then we've also got Musa Rhythm, because it's an Acid Golem with no drawback, and essentially, it's only when it attacks, but still, also, if you make Giga Brilliant, you can end your combo, you can do the special summon loop, like I'll get on with Giga Brilliant, but sometimes you can make 2 rank 3s, and if you do, you make Giga Brilliant and Musa Rhythm, and you end up, when this thing attacks, he goes to 3600, because it doesn't double the original attack, it doubles the attack of the monster. So, at least I think. Double the attacking monster's attack is doubled, yeah. So, it doesn't double original attack, it doubles attack, so this goes up to 3600 with Giga Brilliant's effect. And if you use it twice, use it 21, he goes up to 4200 when he attacks, which is freaking huge. And, go to Leviathan Dragon. Leviathan Dragon is just a 2500 monster that I could summon on the first turn, and it's a good thing to use, and that's why I like it so much. Giga Brilliant, you can also, one of the other things this deck does, aside from the hand loop, is the special summon loop. And with the special summon loop, what happens is, you special summon a bunch instead of just hand looping them, and you can end your first, I believe I've done this more than once, first turn you end with 3 Zen Maities and a Giga Brilliant, and the 3 Zen Maities are at 1800 and the Giga Brilliant's at 21, which is really cool, because then you set, like, defensive traps, and there's really, really nothing they can do. Or Solemn Warning, first turn, and then, you have an MST in hand, or especially if you have Heavy Storm in hand, there's not much they can do, and then you can, I think that's 7500 damage, let me think, 3600, 4454, plus 21, yeah, that's 7500 damage, but you could get off the effect the second turn, and go for 1200 more, which invaluable, plus the 1800 from Shark, so 3000 more. So you can go for game second turn if you open up with the special summon loop and then a factory. The special summon loop, I believe, is a Shark, any level 3 wind up besides Rat, so I think you can use 2 Sharks. And then you just keep special summoning for Rat, bringing back the monster, bring out Zen Maities, and yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'll probably do it during streaming tonight once just to show you guys. Jesus, I'm going long on this. Sorry, guys. Acid Golem, because it's a good immediate out, and if I can immediately push for game with it, then I will. Utopia, because it's a good rank 4. Utopia Ray for mind control, and sometimes it even comes in handy to use its effect on your own Utopia. Then Tiras, because it's just an amazing card, destroys cards, can't be destroyed by card effects, really good. Zen Mayo to get rid of their set cards whenever they use them. Zen Maidi because of the loop, because it's special summons, because you can do the special summon loop. You can do a lot of things with Zen Maidi, it's so good. Zen Mains, because generally when you play Tour Guide you want to play Zen Mains too, and wow, his price, no, it's gone down a little bit. But anyways, Zen Mains, good card. Side deck, 2 DD Crow for the, you guys probably assume what these are for, so I won't go too far into this, I'll just explain why. Really, banish the Grapha when they ditch it. Sure, they still get to destroy, but they can't summon it back, which is good because this deck has big trouble with big monsters. Stop the Hornet from coming back with Inzectors. Then this, you just stop the Inzectors completely. I don't play any in the main deck because I feel, like I said, I like to think of when I'm top decking when I build a deck, because a lot of times that's the situation some of these decks get into, especially windups, when they use all their hand to do the loop. And Effect Failure is a terrible, terrible top deck. And if I'm facing Chaos Dragons, I basically have no chance game 1 because Effect Failure doesn't do much, especially against a deck like Heroes. Effect Failure does essentially nothing. Then we have the third MST, because I feel, while I say that in the main deck it shouldn't be played in 3, I feel that if you you should have 3 combined with your deck main and side deck, because it is a good card to have at 3, just not necessarily in the main deck. 2 Soul Taker for the Chaos Dragon matchup and the Dino Rabbit matchup, because it's an immediate out to big monsters. Oh shoot, that's embarrassing. Okay. Yeah. Tech Constructor? Okay. Now, we have 2 Bottomless, because of the Dino Rabbit Chaos Dragon matchup. That's pretty self-explanatory, just gets rid of 1500 attack, more monsters. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Then we have 2 Mask of Restrict because I thought Hieratics were going to be a lot bigger than they are, and I'm keeping it in there because it stops Frogs too, which are just a pain in the ass. It stops Frog Monarchs, but I mean those are generally Frog Monarchs. When you play Frogs, they have some Monarch in there, and it stops them. Plus, if Gustav Max comes out and Red MD does not get banned to 1, or it does not get forbidden, does not go to 1, and it's not at 2 right now. So if it doesn't, even if it doesn't go to 2, you know, Hieratics will use it and make Gustav Max. So Mask of Restrict will be a good card. Then 3 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. I know it stops the loop because Hunter is a dark, so it stops him from doing the loop, but that's okay because it harms Inzectors further. It harms Chaos Dragons. It stops their soft loop or whatever it's called, and it's just an overall good card. And yeah, that's my deck profile, guys. I explained some of the combos. If you guys want me to go more in depth about it, I'll do it on, I think, a Wednesday segment. I'm not sure what it is, what day I picked exactly. But yeah, tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you want to see the real cards. I can do that one too. But for now, that's going to be all for me. Good night. Sorry for this was such a big or a long video. But yeah, good night and good luck.